Well, hello everyone and welcome to the second round of the NGK SPARK PLUG's ESPORTS CUP here on RaceRoom. My name is Connery Maddock. I'll be your commentator for this evening, and for all the action that's going on this evening, we head to Aragon for the second round of the NGK SPARK PLUG's ESPORTS CUP. The Spanish track is coming up for you very, very soon. But before we do, we'll have a little bit of a recap of what happened last time out at Spa. Red lights showing drivers getting themselves prepared for that hard charge down in towards turn number 1. 20 minutes of racing here at Spa-Francorchamps has got itself underway. And it's Dravosikov getting a good start from pole position. Leonard Carton in P2, Julian Kunze P3, looking around his outside here in the very early stages on lap number 1. They're not going to make it a drag race though down towards Eau Rouge and Radion. Instead, Kunze is going to give him the bumper, is going to give him the push. Kramer's dipping back inside the slipstream, seeing if he can get a run. But we've got a battle for the race lead on. We've got Dravosikov putting on the defense. Back to the fellow AMG Mercedes. No way for Carton on the way through Lacombe. None of which have a run down in towards the bus stop that they can actually use. So they're going to be staying line astern. Although Kramer's might have just outbroken himself there. He has to take the shortcut across the... Oh, no. He had to take the shortcut across the bus stop and rejoin in the circuit, and he's had a little bit of a half spin. Let's see, Zapta's going for the move around the outside at the first apex. Lafania gifts him the inside for the second apex, and that's how it's done. It's a sign of life, but it doesn't come in the form of Burka going on the attack. It's actually Marius Zapta instead. I'm not sure that one's about, but something that's going to be a difference here. Unfortunately, oh, what's happened to Alex Moyson? Oh no, that's a big incident at a very far section of the circuit at the very top of Eau Rouge Radion. You've got to be careful about the rejoin as well. Going to be brave, going to be sending it on the brakes. Is Sinyan Gune? Yes, he is. The Turkish driver down the inside. There's a response from Vertrix though, trying to get the up and under coming off the corner. Not going to find the speed required coming off of it though. And now Sebastian Reed looking on the outside, looking in. Vertrix still has an overlap on the way down in towards La Source. 2 by 2 through the hairpin. But has Vertrix overcommitted himself? Yeah, he has overcommitted. He carries a little bit too much speed in towards the second apex. Now it's going to mess up his run through Malmedy as well. Guine has a chance here on the way down in towards Roussels. Looking to the inside, there's an overlap. Hanging it on the inside there. Fantastic pass there. Drive to the line now. It's Ilya Dravosikov that takes the race 1 win here at Spa-Francorchamps in the NGK SPARK PLUG's ESPORTS CUP here on RaceRoom. Dravosikov takes it. Carton second place with Kunze in third. In terms of the battles we're waiting to see resolved, Steph Kramers versus Lissabano. That one's going to be, well, happening at a very late stage. There's Kramers heading his way down the inside. Oh, he's bullied the other driver out of line a little bit there. Clambering up over the curves, and they get into a bit of a tangle coming out of the final corner, and Philippau's going to pick up 2 free positions in the Porsche, heading his way across the line there. We're going to be off and away once again here in the NGK SPARK PLUG's ESPORTS CUP. It's Zenna on pole position thanks to the reverse grid. We are underway, a little bit of wheel spin for the Italian coming off the line. Villicrevi heading his way down in there as well in second place. He's going to get to hive down in on though. Zenna having to go very defensive early on. Lorenz is looking to make it 3 wide. He doesn't decide to follow through on it though. Kravi though, looking for the race lead, has the inside for the second apex, and now he has the race lead. He's sort of the last car in this sort of leading battle pack here for the moment. Oh, look at that. Lorenz and Roos going wheel to wheel. We're going to get 3 wide through the Fonya somehow, and somehow these drivers are going to be able to make it work. But Blankenberg is going to go for a move here. There's signs of moves being made a bit further forward as well. Blankenberg's completely outbroke himself there and causes a little bit of a palaver behind as drivers were trying to negotiate the positions just outside of the top 10. Well, they've been able to make it work with the help of Blankenberg lifting off majorly into there to make sure that they're able to get through unscathed. Now Dravosikov, our race 1 winner, looking to make an impact here, but no, there's contact. Oh, and Kunze's been spun around in the middle of the traffic. He has to reverse off the circuit and let everyone through. Duck back in line. Meanwhile, side by side through Rouge and Raddy on behind. Enzo Filipao, and Enzo Filipao, big incident into the tyre barriers, back into traffic. Oh my word. Towards Bruxelles, there's another little look there from Zabda. He's found an opening on the inside, but it closes. Almost tags Vertrick all the way around, but still causes Vertrick to lose a couple of spots there. When they come across the line, it'll be one to go. Rosen committing to the outside. Rosen looking for the race lead in towards the bus stop here for the penultimate time in this race. And it looks like Rosen has been able to gain the race lead, but I don't think this battle is done quite just yet. It's Uval Rosen coming across the line to take the race 2 win here in the NGK SPARK PLUG's ESPORTS CUP. It's Blankenberg that holds on to P2, and Cravey from P1 in the very late stages slides all the way back in towards P3. Well, that was a little bit of a recap of what happened at Spa. Quite a lot, as it turns out. Here is your schedule, though. We've had that round number 1 at Spa. We are here at Aragon now for round number 2. And we've got 2 more qualification races to go. We've got one at Dubai and then at the Hungaroring before we get ourselves to our finale at the Nordschleife, where, I have to remind you, all points will be reset. It's whoever's the winner at the Nordschleife is the winner of the championship. It's such a high-stakes race, is that one on the 14th of March, a little bit later on this year. So that is certainly something to look forward to. Of course, we had a little bit of a regulation change as well, a little bit of confusion on the part of some of the drivers with regards to the actual qualifying procedure coming into that final race of the season, and I can clarify it now. We've got the top 4 in each race event. So race event includes these 2 races that we've had at Spa, 2 races we have at Aragon. Whoever scores in the top 4 in each of those events will be able to get themselves a slot inside the final. So, for example, Uval Rosen, Ilya Drovosikov, Colin Brankenberg, and Luciano Wittvoet. They are safe. They don't have to race again until the finale at the Nordschleife. However, everyone else will have to continue on. Either finish top 4 here at Aragon in the combination of the 2 races, or they have to continue on to the next track, and then the track after that. Once we have 4 drivers from each event qualified, then the next 16 drivers will be able to get themselves qualified through, even if they didn't necessarily finish inside the top 4 in any of the individual given race weekends. It's a little bit complicated, I know, but hopefully things will be a little bit more clear once we get into the full swing of things. Of course, if you're unfamiliar with the series, we're just going to go over the format a little bit here. We've got our GT3 cars. We've got the Mercedes AMG GT3. You've got the Audi R8 GT3 Evo and the Porsche GT3 R. Those are the 3 cars that you'll be seeing here today. We'll have 2 races, 2 20-minute races. Race 1, grid is set by a qualifying session, which is currently ongoing. Race 2, grid will be based on the results of race 1 with the top 10 cars reversed. So we have a reverse grid for race number 2 here today. So we can sort of dive straight on into the action then, because these drivers, they do have themselves qualifying underway here at Aragon. Of course, this is a circuit in Spain which is perhaps a little bit more well known for its motorcycle racing. The World Superbike Championship takes place, or at least has raced here, along with many other biking events. But of course, no stranger to racing on 4 wheels either. And let's see how these drivers tackle this particular circuit. We've got Stef Kramers heading his way up and across the line here for the moment. The driver from the Netherlands. The virtual drivers by TX3. Let's have a little bit of a ride on board with him as he tries to negotiate this circuit, because it is a relatively unique one here at Aragon. Of course, like I said, more suited to the motorcycle racing side of things. He's just heading his way down the very long back straight that we have here at Aragon, down from turn 15 down in towards turn 16, and of course turn 16, that hairpin is such a massive overtaking opportunity because you're going to be able to slipstream all the way down this straight and potentially dive it down the inside there. Although the track does look tighter, well, it is very tight coming through there, which might cause a little bit of concern if you do decide to try and go 3 wide through there. So that's the situation down there. Steph Kramer is going to head his way across the line. I have to wonder if he's going to take the toe back to the pit lane or if he's actually going to continue on with this particular lap. Looks like he is just going to continue on as he heads his way through turn 2. Now through turn 3, make sure you just straddle that curb as much as possible. Make sure you use all the track limits as you are allowed to. Swinging his way in towards turn 4, getting things slowed down now for turn 5. Careful through there, of course, and again, out as wide as possible. You might see a few people stick their noses down the inside there to try and get a bit of an opportunistic move, and then you've got to swing it in through turn 7. Slip a little bit there through the middle of the apex. Now down in towards turn 8, descending down the hill here, flicking it in towards turn number 9. Car not really wanting to comply there for Steph Kramer as he puts that Mercedes into the tyre barriers and has a little bit of an unfortunate spin as he was just trying to take us for a lap here of the Spanish circuit. Looks like he might have a little bit of damage to that as well. Yeah, car not looking settled whatsoever in this instance. Just to give you a little bit of a recap though of qualifying order as it stands, we got Sinan Güney, the Turkish driver, currently leading the way by 0.2 of a second over Alex Moysen, who, if you remember back to Spa-Francorchamps, if you were tuning in then, had 2 rather big incidents, both in race 1 and in race 2. So it wasn't the most fantastic day for the German, but a second in qualifying for the moment is looking very, very good indeed. And remember, all you need to do is finish top 4 in one of these events with the 2 races combined in terms of points, and you're through to the final. You don't have to do the next 2 races as it would be in this case. Moysen, though, he'll be demoted from P2 because you got Vila Crevi, the Finnish driver, up into the 2nd spot, sharing the front row with Sinan Güney. And then you've got Maximilian Lorenz there in 4th place, Mihai Neg in P5, Philipp Hau in P6 with Sebastian Rey in P7, Filippo Zenner P8, Steph Kramers and Cyrnil rounding out the top 10 here for the moment. And this is a qualifying which is very quickly going to be drawing itself to a close here in just a couple of moments' time. Just a handful of, well, just under 2 minutes left on the clock, so it's really, really go time for these particular drivers. Everyone has been able to set themselves lap times so far, so no absolute panic for anyone out there for the moment. But let's see if there's any late movers here in this qualifying session. Always possible, of course. A little bit of movement further down the order there as drivers try to pop themselves inside of the top 20. Of course, we may indeed get the luxury of having a little bit of an on-board look with a couple of your drivers. Here is Vila Crevi, and here is Vila Crevi in the real world as well. There he is. So thank you very much to the drivers for giving us an insight into them working at their sim rigs, trying to get these laps down here in qualifying. Vila Crevi, of course, laser focused on those screens, the screen ahead of him. Of course, some drivers choose to use ultra wides instead of triple screens. Personal preference, I believe I've heard from a lot of the drivers. But that is going to be the qualifying session not quite done. RaceRoom does tend to show this a little early, so we will just wait for any other movements. But currently it is Sinan Güney in pole position with Alex Moysen in P2. Then Vila Crevi P3 with Maximilian Lorenz in P4. Mihai Neg in P5 with Maria Zabda P6. Philipp Hau in P7. Sebastian Rey P8. Daniel Burka P9 and Filippo Zenner P10. Then you can see the rest of the drivers scrolling through on your feeds right now. Surprising to see Lee Sabano so far down the order, P29, when he was doing rather well at Spa-Francorchamps. So maybe expect a recovery drive imminently from the driver from Macau, or at least has the Macau flag there. So we get ourselves into the gridding procedure here for race number 1 at Aragon for the NGK SPARK PLUG's ESPORTS CUP. We've had our qualifying session. We do have our order for the start of this event. Of course, it's a very short run down in towards turn number 1 here at this circuit, so the chances are that the vast majority of drivers are going to keep themselves stacked up 2, maybe even 3 wide coming down into those sections. So a great opportunity for drivers to be able to improve positions here, as they are all gradually getting themselves all ready and all set. Here we go then. We've got a grid, we've got some lights, we've got some engine notes, and we're about to go racing here at Aragon for the second race meeting of the NGK SPARK PLUG ESPORTS CUP. We're off on the way down towards turn number 1, and it's a great start from Alex Moysen, who takes the race lead early on from Sinyan Guinea. Guinea's actually going to end up risking losing another spot here, because here comes Villa Crevi in the Mercedes green versus red as they head their way through the first sector. Maximilian Lorenz is behind this one, potentially in the Audi, to try and steal a couple positions away, although the Audi is super loose and loses a good couple of spots as a result. 3 wide through the left-hander, and someone's around. One of the Mercedes collects, or rather one of the Porsches collects a good couple of cars behind. That is not ideal whatsoever, and it's caused more 3 wide situations going on further back in the pack. I believe that was potentially Filippo Zenna, Renault Herbignon also involved in that one. A couple of drivers cycling themselves towards the very bottom of the order as the 2 wide continues in the mid-pack. But the order shaken up already due to an incident towards the top 5 of the field. Still on lap number 1 here at Aragon. 20 minutes this race number 1. Race 2, 20 minutes as well, but with that reverse grid, things are strung out single file, at least inside the vast majority of the top 10. And in fact, as far as the eye can see down further down the field, things seem to have calmed down with regards to the side-by-side moments just for the time being, but they're heading their way down the back straight now, just getting towards the end of it. This is where you can send it on the brakes, and looks like that's exactly what Mihai Neg is going to try and do over Sebastian Ree. You can see the sparks fly as they make a little bit of contact through the apex of the corner, but it seems like we've been able to get themselves through on that relatively okay as they head their way across the start-finish line to complete lap number 1 here of this 20-minute event. And Neg is going to have a little look to the inside once again, but not going to be successful this time around. Cernal has a run behind him, has a run around the outside here, which might be successful coming through turn 2, turn 3, but he's dipped too tight into the grass. He has to force himself wide, and that is going to be the end of Nico Cernal's attack, and it might even turn into a defense, because he's now got Steph Kramers behind him, Kilian Gijekt, you got Peter Daniel Parvan, all involved in this train further back as well. Mercedes and Kramers, they're having to on the defense back to the Audi of his compatriot in the Audi. And oh, someone's spun behind. Peter Daniel's been spun. Daniel Parvan around as well. And again, having to wait for that traffic to come through. You don't want to risk an unsafe rejoin lest you get a penalty, even if you weren't necessarily, if you were going to get one in the incident itself. But Peter Daniel sliding down the order. Daniel Parvan was the Mercedes that seemed to have made contact with him. So lots of drivers having trouble early on here at Aragon, and it seems like the battles continue further down the line here. This is the battle for P24. This is Craig Curtis and Renault Herbignon. Herbignon, of course, on a bit of a recovery from early race problems. Back to the race lead though there, dueling it out side by side through the exit of the hairpin, and it looks like Alex Moysen just about has been able to hold on to position. But Sinyan Guinea is not going to let him get away easily whatsoever. It's Audi versus Mercedes here at the very front of the field, and even though they battled a little bit there, they still maintain over 1 second gap back to the Finn of Villa Crevi. Great to see these guys in action here at the very front of the field. Perhaps the primary concern for them at the moment is just try and break away even more from Villacrevi, but it doesn't seem like Guine is really, Guine, I'm not entirely sure about the pronunciation, to be honest, not having any of it. He's really pressuring the rear end of Alex Moysen, the German. The Audi ahead, falling off the back just a little bit more. It's gifted a little bit of time to Villacrevi. This is always the risk if you decide to battle, is that third, fourth, fifth parties behind you can start to get themselves involved if you don't make the pass clinical. Still got battles further down the field. P18 between Lee Sabano, Georgiev, the Bulgarian. You've got Marian Sabta, Rene Irma, all involved in this train. The recovering Daniel as well. Just try and pick up a couple of spots to try and solidify himself inside the points paying positions. Points paying positions down to P21, remember. So these guys are only just getting themselves a handful of points. But it's a handful of points that can very much matter, especially if you're trying to qualify through the quote-unquote last 16 in terms of points at the very end of the qualification period. There's Yaroslav Dimitriev versus Enzo Villapau. Alpha P16 between the two Porsches. Dimitriev immediately having to go defensive here down in towards turn number 1, but Villapau's showing no threats here at the moment. Going to try and get a little bit of a cutback coming off the corner, gain a little bit of excess speed and maybe make a challenge of it coming through turn 2, and now to the inside through turn 3. They make contact and there's a spinner ahead as well. Soren Jager has had big problems and can't be swinging in front of traffic like that. Two incidents, two unrelated incidents within the space of half a second. And more problems further back as Zenner is forced wide. Unfortunately, everyone, we, as much as I would love to do replays of everything that's been happening so far, I can't. It's just the nature of things. 13 minutes left to go here in race number 1. Still all to play for as far as, well, many positions up and down the order. In particular for the race leads. Moysen still leads after gaining that off at the start by only 0.3 of a second. He's still very much within drafting range. That is a very, very scary prospect, especially considering the long back straight here at the circuit, which they're on right now. Guine closing in. Guine gonna force himself down to the inside once again. Alpha P1 on your screens as Moysen tries to swing it around the outside to try and get the pass back. They're going to rub doors coming through the exit of the corner. Through the final corner they come. Drag race across the start-finish line. 0.06 of a second going the way of Alex Moysen here at the moment. He's not going to be clear down in towards turn number 1, and Guine will have the inside, but his line is compromised coming off the corner. This is fantastic racing between the two of them. Moysen will have the speed and have the ground around the outside to try and maintain position, and he has. This is a fantastic fight between the Audi and the Mercedes, and there's a fight brewing behind as well as Guine sends it down and in. Moysen will give him the space, and Guine's been able to gain the race lead. Fantastic opportunistic pass for the Turkish driver. Has got him P1. Returning to the pointy end of the field after qualifying. But look at what it's done to the time. Back to Villacrevi, back to Maximilian Lorenz. They're on their tail now. Here's the onboard cam with Maximilian Lorenz, as he's been following through in the tyre tracks of Villacrevi. Balashny sports car certainly in contention here now. Look at the gap that Guinea is trying to pull at the very front, though, just stamping his authority on this race. He's got a second, a full second back to Alex Moysen already. It's not even half a lap yet since, not even a full lap since he passed. And Moysen's going to come under threat now because that was a sign of going to the inside from Krivy. And Lorenz pressuring the back with the Mercedes as well. Coming up to the halfway point of this race now, Guinea leads from Moysen, from Krivy. That's your top three. Perhaps top four is more significant to talk about given the top four in points at the end of today. From these two races, doesn't matter what they did in what they did at Spa. Top four in points from these two races alone will be able to get themselves their slot booked into the final in March at the Nordschleife. Again, the points get reset, so the winner at Nordschleife is the winner of the entire championship. Gap stabilized out a little bit towards P1. Hasn't gone that much over that 1 second mark between Guinea and Moysen. In fact, Moysen's actually going to gain a little bit in this sector. Guinea not safe for the moment. Yes, he has a bit of a buffer, but it's not a comfortable buffer whatsoever. Can easily be gobbled up by the drivers behind. This is Lee Sabano and Peter Daniel. This is the battle for P17 now on circuit here at the moment. The driver from Macau, the driver from the Czech Republic doing battle here. Not actively side by side just yet, but close to being able to do so. Saw both of these drivers, of course, at Spa-Francorchamps for round number 1 of the competition. However, they did not finish top 4 in points at the end of those two races, so therefore they're having to race here today. And given they're only fighting for P17 and 18, it doesn't look like it's going to be a points haul here today either. Sabano holding on to the position just for the moment. Daniel in the Audi, out of the final corner, might just have a chance here in towards turn 1. Georgiev behind, also looking to try and get stuck in. There's the angle to the inside for Peter Daniel. It's, well, door left open. Door left completely open there for the Audi to try and work its way through. And Peter Daniel gets the position. E17. Now Georgiev looks to stick his fingers in. Track down that Mercedes. Daniel's pushing hard though, out wide onto the curb. Sort of those little mistakes do tend to just use tiny bits of time here and there. Ooh, it's been a big problem, big problem back there. Jonas Riedel having an issue. There was someone else as well. It was Christian Orban, the Hungarian driver, that was also involved in a little bit of a scrap back there that ended in a few tears. Towards the front of the field where things are strung out just that little bit more. Sinyan Guinea now 1.2 seconds ahead of Alex Moysen, or Moysen. The Krivy about a second further behind, and Lorenz another second further behind that. So things spreading out here at the very front of the field. However, battle going on for the top 12. This is Roland Sen versus Ian Hagen. Little bit of a snap there from the Swedes. Seems to have gathered it up well, though. Oh, who's that? Oh, that's Maximilian Lorenz. Maximilian Lorenz off. One of your top 5 runners, and one of the Porsches has to take avoiding action. That's Lucas Vollering spinning out into the gravel trap on the outside there. That is why you have to rejoin safely, otherwise cars will just have to wrench their steering wheels one way or the other. They're going to be massively impeded. Lucas Vollering will not have appreciated how that was handled. Of course, any penalties, any stewards' reviews, they'll be happening after the race. Penalties don't get dished out during in these sorts of races. Not sure exactly what caused Maximilian Lorenz to just go so far wide and have massive problems through the middle sector there. No one was really close, so it can't have been contact. Look at this train though. This train that has built up behind Maximilian Lorenz. Roland Sen in Jäger, you've got Luca Schubeck and also Enzo Filipao here in this one as well. Big old drafting train down in towards the hairpin, and a look to the inside for Enzo Filipao over Schubeck, and is able to get the position done, but can he defend it coming off the corner? Because it's so easy for that car on the outside to dip a nose back in underneath and try and get the cut back on you. Battle further up the field as well for P4. This is Mihai Neg versus Nico Cernel in this situation. I thought the battles were all done at the very front of the field. Apparently not. These two going at it now. Oh, that's a mistake there from Neg, leaving the door open for Cernel as Cernel rubs the door, coming through the exit of the corner. Mercedes versus Porsche in through the right-hander now. Cernel's done well to hold it around the outside there, but he might just have lost a little bit too much ground to maintain the overlap. And Neg maintains that Mercedes ahead. Just a handful of laps to go. This battle's not done just yet, I don't think. Speaking of battles not being done, the one down here is not done either. Ian Egan, we're going to have a little bit of a ride on boards with this particular driver. There he is, trying to track down Roland Sen, trying to promote himself up into what would be a well-deserved 11th place. He's got pressure from behind from Enzo Filipao though, which is going to cause him a bit of an issue here through the final couple of laps. Onto the long back straight. Filipao behind, going to be closing in, closing in. There we go. That's the view of it. That Porsche just slowly but surely gaining ground on the way down into the braking zone, and an angle to the inside there for Filipao to try and get past the Irishman of Ian Egan. And well, Egan's going to fight him back off the corner. As I've said many times, you can do that coming off the hairpin. And now coming out into the final corner, it's a shallower line being taken by Filipao, which might compromising down the straight here. Egan might have another opportunity. Active battle for going on for P4 as well. The opportunity does not arise for Egan, as we have to jump back further forward. 2 minutes left to go here in race 1. Remember, we have another race after this one. Definitely don't want to go away when this is done, especially with how the battling has been. A reverse grid being thrown into it as well. Recipe for a good time as far as I'm concerned. This has been a great battle though between Cernel and Neg. A bit of ground now, half a second to Cernel. It means that Sebastian Rey is starting to close in. The closer he gets, the more significant the slipstream down the back straight will be. Potentially the more problems that Neg will have to deal with. Lost another 1/10 of a second to Cernel through that complex alone. And that's really a corner that you can't really mess up, lest you compromise your entire run down this straight. Maybe 42 seconds left on the clock when those guys cross the line. Well, less than that. It's going to be about 32 seconds as Sinyan heads his way across the line. So this is the start of the final lap here. Guinea leading by 1.7. Very much clear from Alex Moysen at this stage. Battle further back, P12. Roland Sen versus Ian Egan. We've watched this one develop over the last couple of laps, and it might come to the head in the final one. And there we go. Down to the inside goes Ronald Sen, but that is a massive send. That didn't quite work. And sends the Swede further down the order. Behind Schubeck now. Might even lose the position to Dimitrov. He's tried his level best to not make that happen, but it's inevitable. And here comes Lucas Vollering as well. Around the outside, having an attempt. Not going to be successful in doing so, though. There's Sinyan Guinea, though. It hasn't been a quiet race for the Turkish driver. Of course, losing the race lead early on to Alex Moysen, but that didn't faze him. Didn't panic whatsoever. Got himself back up into the race lead, and has just extended this gap now up to 2.5 seconds back to Alex Moysen. It's been a very accomplished drive here for Sinyan Guinea. Just a straight and a couple more corners to go. The driver of the Mercedes, no problems whatsoever from behind. No pressure whatsoever for Sinyan Guinea as he's slow through the hairpin. He's slow through the hairpin. Why is he slowing up? This is an interesting situation. I think he's still got the gap back to Alex Moysen. He was maybe playing with us a little bit there. Sinyan Guinea heads his way across the line to take the race win in race 1 here at Aragon for the second race meeting of the NGK SPARK PLUG's ESPORTS CUP. A couple of unresolved battles further down the field. Steph Kramer's ahead into P8, ahead of Linus Garise. And you look back to the Dimitrov, to the Sen and Vollering battle. They all come across the line. Pretty much single file. Things fizzling out there in the mid-pack towards the very end of the race as the back of the field starts to trundle its way across the start-finish line. But the man of the moment, though, Sinyan Guinea, a very mature drive from the driver of the Mercedes. And that's one step closer to the finale at the Nordschleife. These are the unofficial race results, remember, so any penalties that the stewards may apply will be applied after the race, not during. So these are provisional, but it is Sinyan Guinea taking the race win with Alex Moysen in P2, Villacrevi P3. Then you got Cernil, Neg, Rie, Guditz. I'm going to struggle with the Dutch pronunciation there. You got Steph Kramer's, Linus Garise, and Maximilian Lorenz rounding out the top 10 drivers. As we cycle things further down the order, a couple of retirements right down at the very bottom as well. It was a race that was a little bit attritional, especially for a race number 1. However, there may just be another opportunity to try and get things done here in race number 2. There's a little bit of a recap of what our calendar looks like there. Of course, we've had rounds at Spa-Francorchamps. We will get ourselves our race at Dubai Autodrome in just a couple of weeks' time. But I hope everyone has been able to enjoy the proceedings thus far here in the NGK SPARK PLUG's ESPORTS CUP. It's definitely been very enjoyable for me to commentate on at this stage. But we do have a second race on the cards here, second race to be able to get going on with. And soon we'll be able to get ourselves inside the session to be able to get ourselves coverage of that second race. We are having a little bit of trouble getting ourselves all sorted here, but should be in relatively short order that we're going to be getting into the session here. But while we're doing that, of course, we can have a little bit of a chat about what we saw. Of course, Sinengene taking the race win. Remember, top 4 in each of the races. Well, not in each of the races, but in the combination of the 2 races of a race weekend. The top 4 in that will be getting themselves their qualification spot into the next stage of competition. As it seems like we've got ourselves our race 2 underway already. It seems as we were a little bit delayed heading into the server, and there's not a lot of warm-up time for us to actually resolve those issues. But race is underway here for race number 2. It is Maximilian Lorenz taking the race lead early on with Steph Kramers in P2, Lars Grise in P3 with Kilian Gejets in P4, Nico Cernel in P5 here as things run, as everyone just tries to get themselves loaded in. Mihai Neg in P6 with Enzo Filipao in P7. Then you've got Roland Sen here in race 2 in P8 with Alex Boyce in P9 and Yaroslav Dimitrov rounding out the top 10. Sinengene has actually lost 1 spot off of the start here, so that is an interesting situation. He's down in P11. Remember, there was a top 10 reverse grid coming into this one. So that is a very big point, because if you get trapped back there as the winner of race 1, then your race 2 can be a little bit more concerning. And you can see Gine is now getting pressure from behind, as Marius Zabter is the one applying that pressure in the fellow Mercedes. Having a look at the battle for P4 going on though. Nico Cernel, slight overlap on driver's left-hand side there of Kilian Gejets. Again, I'm going to butcher that pronunciation every single time. Down the back straight they go, having a little bit of a drag race. Cernel has the preferred inside line, but switchback possibilities always present into the hairpin. There we go, Nico Cernel sliding himself ahead of the Dutch driver. Mihai Neg and Enzo Filipao, they're the ones that are going to next to battle, heading their way across the start-finish line. Immediate defense there from Mihai Neg, wanting to cover off that inside in towards turn number 1, and has done so pretty successfully. But the problem is not allowing that driver sneak back underneath through the next sequence of corners. Filipao is trying his best to try and make that happen. Going to gain a bunch of speed here, maybe in towards turn number 3. Not going to quite make it happen though. Further back through the field, you have things very much stacked up and even 3 wide. Just briefly there, and amongst a couple of them is Soren Jager, that's currently in the middle of this battle pack and getting bullied left, right and centre. His doors getting smashed, his bumpers getting bumped, and it's not a fun day in that Porsche, it seems, as he continues on the battles here in and around Craig Curtis and Renaud Herbin on as well. A little bit chaotic back here in the pack. And these aren't even the fights to the final points paying position either. There we go. Down the inside looks Soren Jager over Daniel Berker. Berker going to push out wide there, going to lose the spot to Soren Jager. It's a mistake that results in a net loss of 1 position. Oh, there was a big problem there. Craig Curtis, the Audi British driver, having a big off there in towards the chicane. He's able to get back going though, albeit right at the very back of the field. Then you've got Sinengene trying to, this is our race 1 winner. He's only just about got himself back up into P10. Not been the most ideal start to a race 2 for a race winner that we've seen. We typically see them try to press on forwards immediately and get a couple positions on the initial 2 laps, but that simply hasn't happened for Sinyan Guinea, and now it's going to make life a little bit more difficult for the coming up to 15 minutes that we have remaining. Update on the race lead. Maximilian Lorenz has done a very good job in extending that gap here in the early stages. He's got 1.7 seconds back to Steph Kramer's, which is an awesome margin with only 5 minutes gone in the race. Lorenz in a very comfortable position indeed. Battle for P3 is less comfortable though. Lance Gruse only has just shy of half a second over Cernil, and Cernil has shown a good amount of strength so far in this particular event. Uwe Rosten saying Ujits, that Dutch driver that I can't pronounce, says is read as Halt. So Throatshelter. I can't do that sound, unfortunately. that's definitely not natural. So we've had cars go off there in the background. That's Enzo Filipao. Straight back into a 3-wide situation with Alex Moysen and Roland Sen. And now it's Sinyan Guinea on the back of these guys, and that is the last thing these guys would have wanted to hear. Sinyan Guinea, he has a spin coming off the corner, and there was an impact with the barrier there with the rear end as well. Might be damage to our race 1 winner. He's going to limp it down in towards turn number 1. But it looks like that rear wing is very slightly bent out of shape. I take my eyes off the screen for just a moment, and Guinea decides to bin it and send himself bound to P18. Now he has to be hoping that he can gain enough positions on this recovery drive to try and finish in top 4 across the 2 races, because if he can't, then he's going to have to come back the race at Dubai. Oh, how things change here in racing. I'm not sure if that was a full self-spin or if he got tagged from behind. Wasn't exactly clear from my point of view. That really changes things up now, especially in terms of the top 4 in terms of points. As Cernil! Oh, he loses the back end and sends it into the Armco. An unforced error from the German. And that Porsche is not as it rolled off the showroom floor. Heavy front end impact. Lucky not front engines. But of course radiator damage, aero damage, suspension damage, all big factors. Still's going to try and go around the outside of Dimitrov, so still trying to prove that he has some form of pace, despite the significant damage. I think the damage will start to be more telling as he has another incident out of the final corner. Cars scatter behind to try to avoid, and thankfully everyone does. But that was a symptom of the damage, and he might take the tow back to pit lane here. It would be the sensible thing to do instead of trying to limp it around for another lap. But he is letting the entire field by. And he could be continuing on here despite it. We've had so much drama. We've had so many self-spin incidents. And oh, there's more. There's more problems. Trying to get an ID on the driver. That's Georgiev. Bulgarian driver filing down into P19 now. We haven't even got half this race to go yet. And still so many drivers having problems, perhaps driving beyond their abilities. Colin Blankenberg in our RaceRoom YouTube chat says, would he still be able to get P4 because of quali points? It depends on how the mathematics works out, I'm afraid. There is points for qualifying, or rather there are points for qualifying, just not that many. Just 3 points for pole position, 2 points for seconds, 3 points for third, sorry. There we go, battle for P3 though going on your screen right now. Mihai Neg battling with Linus Garise. Neg keeps himself in P3 for now. Tries to give chase to Steph Kramers further down the road, less than 2 seconds. Sinyan Guine also on the back of Filippo Zenna. So this is a recovering Sinyan Guine. Looking around the outside despite the damage to the rear end. Car not looking entirely settled, although does he maintain the overlap here? No, he does not. That rear wing is at a jaunty angle. Not going to help with the rear end stability. Going through the high-speed sections. Meanwhile, Philip Howe just letting it and Alex Moysen go there. Not sure if there was some form of slowdown for the Frenchman. But that was an easy one to give up. Perhaps deliberately so. Or in fact, his hand was forced due to penalty. Less than half the time to go now. Just below 9 minutes left on the clock. Lorenz has done so well in the race lead. 3 seconds now back to Steph Kramers. So lots of buffer to work with. This is Sinyan Guine, of course, on his recovery drive. Struggling to get past Filippo Zenna here for the moment. Zenna running very, very well indeed. Has there been more problems here? I just saw a yellow flag up very, very briefly on my screen there. Not sure if anyone had a problem. It would have been in this region if there was. I think Villa Cravey might have been part of it in P11 there. Sinyan Guine has been able to get past Zenna, and Zenna in the process of losing the position to Guine, and instead also loses the position to Lukas Schubeck as well. So Schubeck picking up a free one, thanks to the move from Sinyan Guine. Guine up to the 15th place, which if you're wondering, will gift him 7 points. So pole position, 3 points. Race 1 win is 40 points. Is 50 points enough for Guine to get inside the top 4? It depends on, you know, someone pointed out in the chat very helpfully, it depends on where the rest of the top finishers in race 1 are finishing right now. Got Alex Moysen there in P6 going along rather well, and he has a few cars further down the road that are potential overtakes. Less than 7 minutes to go now. There's Roland Sen versus Marius Zabda, the two red Mercedes looking to overlap on the way in towards the hairpin. Zabda looking, Sen kind of parked the bus on the apex there. There was no run for Zabda to use coming off the corner despite the wide arc in. A little bit on the exits of the corners. Of course, you can push these tires pretty hard in these races. Of course, GT3 tires usually, you know, they have no problems about lasting an hour in a normal normal fuel stint. So in a 20-minute event, really lean on them. Normal tyre wear in effect for this. So some series might run accelerated tyre wear just to spice things up towards the end of these runs, but they're running just the normal tyre wear here. So should be no problems in leaning on the tyres a little bit for 20 minutes, and they can last for so much longer in normal endurance racing configuration, for example. Alpha P18 on your screen, René Irma. You've got Lucas Vollering, Sebastian Ree all involved in this one. Vollering around the outside, can't quite get it done there. Opens up an opportunity for Sebastian Ree. He just sticks a nose in, shows a nose. We'll continue this battle. Ooh, Vollering, that's a toe back to the pit lane. That is a toe back to the pit lane, and is that a disqualification? I see. He does have a black flag. So I have to wonder what that is about. Unserved slowdown penalty. Too many cut tracks, who knows? But that means that Lucas Vollering will not score any points from this race. The other disqualification that we had was Herbingon as well. Side by side between Ree and Riedel. That's quite fun to say. Ree and Riedel side by side through the hairpin, and it looks like Riedel's going to be able to get this one around the outside. Brilliantly done. Bit of an update. We've got ourselves a battle within 0.6 of a second for P3. Mihai Neg is also doing a relatively okay job at tracking down Steph Kramer. He gained about 3.5 tenths of a second on that previous lap alone, did Mihai Neg. So this is looking very good indeed for the Romanian driver. Currently sandwiched between the two Dutchmen. Sinja Guinea on his recovery drive. Now is up behind Marcel Holuk for P14. So despite the damage, Guinea has been able to pull off these passes so far, and it will be helped by a little mistake from the German. And well, this may just be an easy pass complete for Guinea. Holuk's going to continue to fight it though, but he's just going to be losing ground. Down the back straight here, will duck back inside the slipstream to make sure any move from Schubeck is, well, a little bit less possible. Schubeck's going to show the nose regardless, and well, it's more than show the nose. He's going to dive it straight in and try and follow through on the tyre tracks of Guinea, and he's done that rather well, hasn't he? Great stuff from Schubeck. Up into P15, a couple more points to his name. Holuk losing 2 positions in quick succession. The battle for P6. Alex Moysa and Enzio Filipao. Very close out there on circuit, especially at such a late stage. We've just got a handful of laps to go now. The race leader of Maximilian Lorenz has had a very comfortable time. Absolutely untroubled at the very front of the field since the drop of the green flag. Lap times are in the 1:56 range. Continuing to extend the gap back to Steph Kramer's. This has been an impressive performance from Lorenz. Kind of mirroring what Guinea did in the first race. Absolutely untouchable. Izzy Negan and Villa Crevi having a little bit of a fight here. It's great to see these two guys do battle. 42 seconds left remaining. Where is Lorenz out there on circuit? Well, he's just coming out of the final corner now. So this will be the start of the final lap here in race 2. And Lorenz absolutely untroubled at the very front of the field. However, battle for P2 might just be a possibility. Steph Kramers, Mihai Neg, both in with a shot. Let's have a look at Mihai Neg, why not? There he is. He's worked so hard on trying to gain this P2, and now he might just have a chance right at the very dying moments of this race. You're having to look and having to think it'll be done at the bus stop, or rather not at the bus stop, at the hairpin, at the very end of the lap at this stage. That's the last massive overtaking opportunity that you can use. Neg just needs to put himself in the right place at the right time, coming across the, well, at the start of the back straight, and then he might just have himself a chance. Clock has hit 0. There's the confirmation that this race is done. Maximilian Lorenz, well, he's had a fantastic run indeed. He's coming towards the back end of the lap now. There's Mihai Neg and Steph Kramers. There's the battle for P2 that we've been talking about. On to the back straight they go. Lorenz 5 seconds ahead of that battle. He's absolutely clear and plain sailing to the very end of this one. What's going to happen for P2 though? That is also a very, very big question indeed. However, I don't think Neg is close enough to be able to make this move happen. Close up on the brakes as much as possible, but I don't think it's going to be a thing that's going to happen as you see Maximilian Lorenz head his way out of the final corner to take the race 2 win here at Aragon for the NGK SPARK PLUG's ESPORTS CUP. Second race meeting. There's Kramers taking P2 after an amazing defense. And Mihai Neg, of course, P3 as well. He's still going to be happy with that result despite closing the gap at the very last moment. Just wasn't able to convert. Everyone else further behind, heading their way across the line now. And for some of these drivers, it's going to be an eager wait to try and see how the points line up. There's Sinyangine bringing it to a stop, or at least a crawl down in towards turn number 1. It was a P14 finish at the end of the day for Sinyangine. Not what we expected to see, especially after that race 1 performance. So here's your unofficial race results from race 2. Maximilian Lorenz, Steph Kramers, Mihai Neg are your podium finishers. Then you have Kilian Hidit. You've got Linus Garise in P5. You've got P6 going to Fencer Filippo. Alex Moisten will P7. Roland Sen P8. Marius Zabta P9. And Yaroslav Dimitrov in P10. And you've got Ian Egan in P11. Villikravia P12. Lapanek in 13th. Sinyangine 14th. Lucas Schubeck in 15th place. You can see the rest of the field as they cycle through on your screens right now. So 2 very action-packed races indeed here in the NGK SPARK PLUG's ESPORTS CUP, and we may get ourselves the opportunity to have a little bit of a conversation with one of our drivers. I'll bring him in right now. Steph Kramers, of course, you know, getting yourself second place finish in that second race. Steph, despite the pressure from Mihai behind you, how did you deal with that? If you can hear me. Apparently not. That's unfortunate. I would have loved to have a little bit of a conversation there with Steph Kramers, but it seems like his microphone is not working, although we might have another attempt at it. Can you unmute Steph? Show signs of life. We don't necessarily need your camera on the Discord. It would be more useful to have your camera on the Zoom because that's where I'm getting the feeds from. But Steph, if you can hear me, say yes. I can't hear you, so that's not going to work, unfortunately. So we're gonna have to end that there. It's unfortunate when drivers have a couple of tech issues, isn't it? But I don't know if we are going to be able to get ourselves another interviewee, shall we say. They should be able to make their way in to the Discord channel, but it seems like I don't think we are necessarily going to really be getting anyone. So we will, of course, await the overall results in terms of which drivers are through to the next stage of competition, through to the Nordschleife in March for the grand finale. And which drivers will have to do another race, or even another one after that, potentially. Because we have, of course, a little bit of a recap of the schedule. We've got Dubai Autodrome coming up next. Then we've got the Hungaroring as sort of the quote-unquote last chance qualifier here in the NGK SPARK PLUG's ESPORTS CUP. So that may just be the situation that some of the drivers find themselves in. We may get the opportunity to have a little bit of a chat with Mihai Neg, who finished in 3rd place there in that second race. Mihai, can you hear me?
Hello, yeah, I can hear you pretty clearly. It's okay from my side.
There we go, absolutely, and we can see you on screen as well. Hello.
Hello.
So that third race, that seemed to be quite action-packed for you, especially towards the end when you were catching Steph Kramer's in P2. Just take me through what your thoughts were about that.
Yeah, I had a couple of moves from the start of the race, like I was progressing pretty well through the field. And at the end, I was catching my teammate Steph, and I knew he finished in the top 10 in the first race, and I was trying to attack him, but at the same time, I think he needed that position more than me to have a chance of going through. So, yeah, I tried to catch him, but I think I was one lap short of making a move.
It's always that you need that one more lap. There's so many situations in sim racing where you just want one more lap and you'll be able to get the pass, but unfortunately we have 20 minutes instead of 22 minutes to race with here.
It is what it is.
Yeah, it is absolutely what it is. Do you think you've done? Looks like with your results, you might have just done well enough to be able to get yourself top 4. Are you hoping you're in?
Yeah, I hope I am in. Also, in the second race, the drivers that finished in front of me in the first race, I saw they had a couple of issues at the start, so I'm not quite sure where they finished. But I think I have a good chance of making it P4, maybe P3, I don't know. But yeah, it was a clean evening from my side.
Yeah, very, very clean indeed. And same could not be said for a couple of the drivers who had issues in that second race. Sinigine, for example, our race 1 winner, dropping down the order after an incident. What makes this track so tricky? Because we've had a lot of solo spins. Spins with no contact and things like that. So what is it about this car track combo or with these GT3 cars at this track which makes it so difficult?
I think the fact that a lot of braking zones are quite you have to turn before or during the braking zone, but ideally before. Also, the traction zones, you got to maximize the curbs, and they sometimes like to do random things and generate different grip levels. So yeah, I raced on this track only with the WTCR cars, and it was a lot of fun there. So I didn't expect to do so well with GT3s here, but it's a nice combo, I can say.
Yeah, it did seem to be quite nice. I mean, there didn't seem to be any sort of problems with overtaking, especially with that long back straight into the hairpin. But we wish you all the best, Mihai. Hopefully you're inside that top 4, so you don't have to do Dubai or the Hungaroring, and you can just start thinking about the Nordschleife in 2 months' time, it feels like right now. But we'll just have to wait and see. But thank you very much for joining me, Mihai.
Thank you, and I hope everyone enjoyed this evening of racing. See you guys. Bye.
Thank you very much. I definitely enjoyed this this evening of racing, but it's not we're not done with the season here just yet. We still have 2 more qualification events. We have the Dubai Autodrome there on the 14th of February, so just a couple of weeks' time. And then we have the Hungaroring right at the end of February as our last chance qualification into the final race at the Nordschleife, where the prizes will be awarded. Points reset. Whoever wins at the Nordschleife will be the winner of Season 2 of the NGK SPARK PLUG's Esports Cup. But with that, that's going to be all that we have time for here today. I've been Connery Maddock. I've been your commentator for this evening. We will soon, once the race administrators have totaled everything up, applied penalties here and there, we will know on the RaceRoom social medias which drivers have been 100% confirmed to be able to get themselves through to the round at the Nordschleife. But the thing is, that process does take a while, and of course there's protests and appeals that need to be heard as well, potentially, before everything gets totaled up. But for me, for these amazing races here at Aragon, I will have to say goodbye. But in 2 weeks' time, you want to have another little look at the NGK Spark Plugs YouTube channel and the RaceRoom YouTube channel and the Facebook as well, because we will be broadcasting round number 3 at the Dubai Autodrome in terms of the qualification process into that final race for the NGK Spark Plugs Esports Cup. Have a good evening, and I'll have to say goodbye.